Give me the one no one wanted, Cowboy said when faced with 10 mail-order brides. The sun had just started to rise over the wide-open land. Soft golden light spread across the ranch, touching the dry grass, wooden fences, and small buildings that stood quietly in the early morning. The air was cool, and a gentle breeze moved through the fields, carrying the smell of earth and fresh hay. It was the kind of morning that felt peaceful, the kind that made people believe the day would pass without trouble. The rancher had already been awake for some time. He was a man who believed in starting early. Life on the ranch had taught him that the day belonged to those who respected time and hard work. He moved with calm purpose, checking his tools, tightening his boots, and preparing for a long day. His face showed years of experience, shaped by sun, wind, and responsibility. He had learned to read the land, to listen to the sounds of animals, and to notice small changes that others might ignore. This land was not easy. It was beautiful, but it was also dangerous. Tall grass could hide sharp rocks, thorny plants, and sometimes wild creatures. The rancher knew this well. That was why he always stayed alert, even on quiet mornings. He believed that nature deserved respect. It could provide, but it could also take away if someone was careless. That morning he was not working alone. His Apache neighbor had come early to help with some chores near the edge of the property. She was known in the area as a strong and reliable person. She had grown up close to the land and understood its ways. Her presence brought a sense of trust. The rancher respected her skills and her knowledge of the land. They had worked together before, and there was always a feeling of quiet understanding between them. She arrived on horseback, guiding her horse with confidence. Bay. The horse moved slowly, stepping carefully across uneven ground. She greeted the rancher with a small nod and a calm smile. Words were not always needed. Both of them knew what had to be done. There were fences to inspect, animals to check, and brush to clear near the outer fields. As they walked together, the morning sound surrounded them. Birds called from distant trees. The wind moved through the grass, creating a soft, whispering sound.
Cows could be heard lowing far away.
But everything felt normal, steady, and familiar. It was the kind of routine that made people lower their guard. They talked about simple things. The condition of the fence. The weather. The possibility of rain later in the week. These small conversations were part of their working rhythm. Nothing in their words hinted at danger. Nothing in the sky or the land gave a warning. The area they were heading toward was more wild than the rest of the ranch. The grass was taller there, and the ground was less even. The rancher had planned to clear some of the brush so that animals could move more safely. The Apache neighbor agreed to help. She knew how to move carefully, watching where she stepped, using a stick to push grass aside before walking through it. Still, even careful people can face sudden trouble. The land does not always show its dangers clearly. Sometimes danger waits quietly, hidden, until it is too late to avoid it. As they moved deeper into the tall grass, the rancher felt a small sense of unease. It was not fear, just a feeling that came from years of experience. He slowed his steps slightly and looked around more closely. The Apache neighbor did the same. They both respected this part of the land. They knew it was home not only to livestock but also to wild animals. The sun climbed higher and the light became stronger. Beige shadows grew shorter. The air began to warm. Sweat formed on their brows, but neither complained. This was part of ranch life. Hard work under the sun was something they accepted without question. The Apache neighbor stepped a few feet ahead, pushing aside thick grass with her stick. Bess. She moved carefully, but confidently. She had walked land like this many times before. Bay. She trusted her senses and her experience. For a moment, everything seemed perfectly fine. Then, in a single instant, everything changed. There was a sudden, sharp movement in the grass. It was so fast that neither of them could clearly see what caused it. The Apache neighbor felt a sudden, intense pain. It was quick, like a strong pinch, but deeper and more alarming. She cried out in shock and stumbled backward. The rancher turned immediately, his heart jumping in his chest. He saw her lose balance and fall to one knee. Her face changed from calm to fear in a heartbeat. She grabbed her leg, breathing hard, trying to understand what had just happened. The grass around her was still moving slightly, as if something had just passed through it. The rancher stepped closer, his eyes scanning the ground, trying to see what had caused the sudden pain. He knew this land well enough to guess that it could be something dangerous. The Apache neighbor looked up at him, her eyes wide. She was trying to stay calm, but fear was clear on her face. She had felt pain before in her life, but this was different. This pain felt sharp, serious, and wrong. It was not just a cut or a scratch. The rancher knelt beside her, speaking in a steady voice even though his own heart was racing. He asked her to stay still. He told her to take slow breaths. His mind was already moving fast, thinking of what could have happened and what he should do next, best. She tried to explain what she felt. Her words came out quickly, mixed with short breaths. She pointed to her thigh where the pain was strongest. The rancher could see that she was scared, but she was also trying to stay strong. She did not want to panic, but she knew something was very wrong. Around them, the land was silent again. The birds had stopped singing for a moment, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The peaceful morning had been broken. What started as a normal workday had suddenly become something much more serious. The rancher felt a heavy sense of responsibility. Out here, far from immediate help, people had to rely on each other. He knew that quick thinking could make the difference between safety and real danger. He also knew that guessing wrong could make things worse. He helped her sit more comfortably on the ground, keeping her as calm as possible. He told her not to move her leg too much. His voice was firm but kind. He wanted her to feel that she was not alone, that he was there and would not leave her. Inside, his thoughts were racing. He thought about wild creatures that lived in this area. He thought about how fast trouble could happen. He thought about how fragile life could be, even on a morning that started with peace and routine. The Apache neighbor took a deep breath and tried to steady herself. She had grown up facing hard situations, and she knew that fear could make things worse. Still, this was different. The pain was not fading. It was spreading, slowly, in a way that made her very worried. Bess. She looked at the rancher with serious eyes. In that look was trust, fear, and hope, all at once. She trusted him to help. She feared what might happen if help did not come quickly. And she hoped that together they could face whatever danger this was. The rancher nodded to her, silently promising that he would do everything he could. The calm morning was gone. Now, the only thing that mattered was keeping her safe and finding a way through the danger that had suddenly entered their lives. The land around them remained wide and quiet, but for them, everything had changed. The day that began with simple work had become a moment that would stay in their memories forever. Neither of them knew yet how serious the situation would become, but both of them understood one thing clearly. This was no longer an ordinary day on the ranch, but the rancher stayed close to his neighbor, watching her carefully. The pain on her face told him this was not something small. He had seen people get hurt before, but this was different. This was sudden, and it felt serious. He kept his voice calm, even though inside he felt worried. He gently asked her to describe exactly what she felt. She told him it happened very fast. One moment she was walking, and the next moment there was a sharp pain. She said it felt like something struck her quickly and then disappeared. She did not see it clearly, but from her experience she feared it might have been a dangerous animal hidden in the grass. The rancher looked around again, slowly moving the grass with a long stick. He did not want anything else to come close. His eyes searched the ground, the rocks, and the shadows. The land looked quiet, but he knew that quiet did not always mean safe. Her breathing became heavier. She tried to stay strong, but the pain was starting to spread. She held onto her leg and closed her eyes for a moment, trying to control her fear. The rancher could see that her strength was being tested.
He told her to keep talking to him. He believed that keeping her mind active would help her stay alert.
He asked her simple questions about her family, her home, and how long she had lived in the area. She answered slowly, her voice shaking at times, but she did her best. As time passed, she said her leg felt strange. It was not only pain anymore. There was also a heavy feeling, as if her leg did not fully belong to her. That worried the rancher even more. He had heard stories of people who ignored early signs and paid a high price later. He knew they could not stay there for long. Sitting in the tall grass was not safe. There could be more hidden dangers. He carefully helped her shift to a safer, more open area where the ground was clearer and easier to see. Every step was slow. She leaned on him for support. He could feel her weight, and he could feel how weak she was becoming. It made him more determined to act quickly and wisely. Once they reached a clearer spot, he helped her sit down again. He kept his eyes on her face, watching for any change.
Her skin looked pale, and small drops of sweat appeared on her forehead, even though the morning air was still not very hot.
She told him she had seen people survive dangerous bites before. She said that quick action could make a big difference. Her words were meant to give both of them hope, but the fear in her eyes showed that she understood how serious this could be.
The rancher thought about what supplies he had nearby.
His truck was not too far away, but it was still a walk. He did not want to leave her alone, but he also knew he might need to get help or tools. He felt trapped between two difficult choices. He decided first to make her as comfortable and safe as possible. Narration. He gave her some water and told her to take small sips. He reminded her to breathe slowly and deeply. He spoke in a steady, confident tone, even though inside he felt a heavy weight of worry. She asked him quietly what he thought had happened. Bet. He did not want to scare her, but he also did not want to lie. He told her that it could have been a dangerous animal, and that was why they needed to act fast and smart. He said they would not waste time and they would not give up. The land around them felt different now. The same grass, the same sky, and the same wind were still there, but the feeling had changed. It was no longer peaceful. Every sound felt louder. Every movement in the grass made the rancher look up quickly. She tried to move her leg slightly and winced in pain. She stopped and took a deep breath. The rancher gently told her not to move it too much. He explained that staying still might help slow the spread of the problem. She nodded, trusting his judgment. Minutes felt like hours. The rancher checked his watch and then looked at the sky. He knew time was passing, and that made him more anxious. He had to make a decision soon. She looked at him and spoke with a serious voice. She told him she was starting to feel dizzy. That was a bad sign. The rancher felt a cold feeling in his chest. He had to act now.
He told her he was going to get the truck and call for help.
He promised he would be back as fast as possible. He did not want to leave her, but he knew that staying without help could be even more dangerous. Before leaving, he made sure she was sitting in the safest place he could find. He cleared more grass around her so she could see clearly. Best. He told her to stay awake and keep talking to herself if she had to. He told her to focus on her breathing. She reached out and grabbed his arm. Her grip was not very strong, but it was full of trust. She told him not to take too long. He looked into her eyes and nodded. Betools. He told her he would not. As he stood up, he felt the weight of the situation fully. Out here, far from quick medical care, every choice mattered. He started moving quickly but carefully, always looking around as he went. With every step toward his truck, his mind was full of thoughts. What if he was too late? What if the problem became worse? He pushed those thoughts away and focused on moving faster. Behind him, his neighbor sat alone in the open field, fighting pain and fear. She tried to stay strong. She told herself that she had survived hard times before, and she would survive this too, bet. She focused on the sky, the clouds, and the sound of the wind, trying to calm her mind. The rancher reached his truck and grabbed what he could. He knew he had to get her to proper care as soon as possible. He did not waste time. He started the engine and drove back toward her as fast as he safely could. The peaceful ranch road now felt like a racetrack against time. Dust rose behind the truck. The rancher's hands were tight on the steering wheel. His heart was pounding, but his mind was focused. When he reached her, he jumped out quickly. She looked weaker than before. That scared him, but he did not let it show on his face. He spoke to her in a strong, calm voice. He told her help was coming, and they would get through this together. He helped her up carefully and guided her toward the truck. Every movement was slow and careful. She leaned heavily on him, but she kept trying. Her strength, even in pain, made him respect her even more. As they moved, both of them knew that this was only the beginning of the struggle. The real test was still ahead. The quiet ranch morning had turned into a serious fight against time, and neither of them was ready to give up. The truck moved over the rough ranch road, shaking slightly as it passed over small rocks and uneven ground. The rancher drove carefully but with urgency. His eyes stayed on the road, but his thoughts were on his neighbor sitting beside him. He could hear her breathing, slow and uneven. Every sound she made reminded him how serious the situation was. He kept talking to her, even when she did not answer right away. He told her stories about the ranch, about simple things, anything to keep her awake and focused. He believed that if she stayed alert, it would help her fight through the pain and fear. Sometimes she nodded. Sometimes she whispered short replies. Her voice was weak, but she was still trying. The road felt longer than ever before. Places that usually took only a few minutes now felt far away. The rancher checked the mirrors, the road, and her face again and again. He was watching for any change, any sign that she was getting worse. She told him the pain was spreading slowly. Her leg felt heavy and strange. She said it was harder to feel the ground under her foot. That worried him deeply. He wanted to press the gas pedal harder, but he also knew that driving too fast on a rough road could be dangerous for both of them. He told her to keep breathing slowly. He showed her how to count her breaths. Inhale slowly. Hold for a moment. Then exhale. Simple steps, but sometimes simple things can make a big difference. She tried to follow his words. Her face showed effort, but also trust. Wrath. The land outside the truck window passed by in a blur. Dry fields. Fences. Small hills. The same land that had always felt like home now felt like a long path of obstacles between them and safety. At one point, she closed her eyes for a few seconds. The rancher noticed immediately. His voice became firmer. He called her name and asked her to open her eyes. She did, slowly, and gave a weak nod. He told her she was doing well. He told her she was strong. He knew that encouragement could help more than silence. Inside, he felt fear. He did not show it, but it was there. He was afraid of making a mistake. He was afraid of being too late. He had helped many people in small emergencies before, but this felt bigger. This felt like a moment that could change a life. She told him about her family. She spoke about her parents and how they had taught her to respect the land. She said they always told her that nature could be kind, but it could also be dangerous if not respected. Beck.
Her words were slow but meaningful. The rancher listened closely.
It helped her stay focused, and it helped him stay connected to her as a person, not just as someone in trouble. The truck hit a small bump, and she winced in pain. The rancher apologized and slowed down slightly. He did not want to make things worse for her. He wished the road were smoother. Breath. He wished they were closer to help. But wishing would not change anything. All he could do was keep going. He thought about the nearest place where they could get proper care. He planned the route in his mind. He chose the fastest way, even if it meant taking less used roads. Best. He knew every turn, every shortcut, every rough patch. Years on the ranch had taught him these paths well. Despair. She became quieter. That scared him. He asked her questions again. Simple questions. What day is it? What was the last thing she ate? But they kept her talking, kept her connected to the moment. She answered slowly. Sometimes she smiled weakly, trying to show she was okay. But her eyes told a different story. They were tired. They were fighting. Bow. The rancher felt a deep sense of responsibility.
He was not just a neighbor in that moment.
He was her support, her driver, her helper, and maybe her only chance to reach safety in time. That thought made his hands grip the steering wheel tighter. The wind outside picked up, blowing dust across the road. The sky was bright, but inside the truck, the mood was heavy. The contrast felt strange. Such a beautiful day. And such a serious struggle happening at the same time. He reminded her again that help was close.
Even if it was not very close, he wanted her to believe it was.
Hope can be powerful. Hope can be powerful. He wanted her to hold on to that hope.
Bear. She told him she trusted him. Her voice was quiet, but her words were strong. That trust meant a lot to him. It gave him more strength to keep going, even when fear tried to slow him down. At one point, she became very still.
The rancher noticed right away.
He called her name again. He reached over gently and touched her shoulder, just enough to get her attention. She opened her eyes again and looked at him. She said that she was just tired. That word, tired, felt heavy. He knew this was not normal tiredness. This was something more serious. He told her they were almost there, even if it was not completely true. He believed that, believing it could help her stay strong. He did not want her to lose focus.
He did not want her to lose hope. The road turned, and in the distance, he could see a familiar landmark.
It was a small building near the edge of town. Seeing it made his heart lift slightly. They were making progress. They were getting closer. He spoke more confidently now. He told her they were doing well. He told her she was handling it bravely. He wanted her to feel proud of herself, even in pain. Desperate, she nodded slowly. She said she did not want to give up. Best. She said she had too much to live for. Those words stayed with the rancher. Bow. They made him even more determined.
Every minute felt important.
Desk. Every breath she took felt like a small victory. The rancher stayed focused, guiding the truck carefully but steadily toward help. Base. Inside his mind, he promised himself something. No matter what happened next, he would not forget this moment. Breath. He would remember how quickly life could change. He would remember how important it was to look out for one another. The truck continued down the road, carrying not just two people, but also fear, hope, trust, and the strong will to survive. The hardest part was not over yet, but they were no longer standing still. They were moving forward, together, toward whatever came next.
The truck finally reached the edge of town.
The road became smoother, and small buildings began to appear on both sides. The rancher felt a small sense of relief, but he knew the danger was not over yet. Getting closer to help did not mean the problem was solved. His neighbor still needed proper care, and time was still very important. But he looked over at her again. Her face looked tired, and her eyes were half closed.
He called her name gently but firmly.
She opened her eyes and tried to sit up straighter. He told her they were close now. He wanted her to stay awake and focused just a little longer. The sounds of town felt loud compared to the quiet ranch. Cars passed by. People walked on sidewalks. Life was moving as usual for everyone else, but for them, everything felt serious and heavy. The rancher felt a strange feeling watching normal life continue while his neighbor was fighting through pain and weakness. Thus, he pulled into a place where they could get immediate help. He parked the truck and quickly went around to her side. He opened the door and spoke to her calmly. He told her they were here and that people would help her now. She tried to stand, but her legs were weak. The rancher quickly moved closer and supported her. He wrapped his arm around her carefully, helping her step out of the truck. Every small movement took effort. She leaned heavily on him, and he could feel how much strength she had lost. People nearby noticed something was wrong. A few came closer to see if they could help. The rancher explained quickly that she had been hurt out on the ranch and needed urgent care. Their faces changed when they heard how serious it sounded. They did not ask many questions. They focused on helping. Together, they guided her inside. The building felt cool compared to the warm air outside. The change in temperature made her shiver slightly. The rancher noticed and held her steady, telling her everything would be okay. Workers inside moved quickly. They spoke in calm but serious voices. They asked the rancher what had happened. Despair, he explained as clearly as he could. He did not hide anything, but he also tried not to sound too alarmed. He wanted to stay calm for her sake. They helped her sit and then lie down so she could rest. But the rancher stayed close. He did not want her to feel alone. He watched every movement the workers made, hoping they would act quickly and wisely. She looked at him and tried to smile. It was a weak smile, but it showed her spirit was still there. She told him thank you. Those 2 words meant a lot to him. He told her she did not need to thank him. Helping was the right thing to do. As time passed, the workers continued to take care of her. The rancher stood nearby, feeling both hopeful and worried at the same time. He wanted to believe everything would be fine, but he also knew that some problems take time to fully understand. He thought about how quickly the day had changed. At morning, everything had felt normal. Now he was standing in a place of help, watching his neighbor fight through a serious situation. Life did not give warnings. It just changed, sometimes in a single moment. He stepped back slightly to give the workers space, but he stayed close enough so she could see him. Every time she opened her eyes, he made sure she saw a familiar face. He wanted her to feel supported. The waiting felt long. Even a few minutes felt like a long time. The rancher walked slowly back and forth, then stopped, then stood still again. His mind kept going back to the moment in the tall grass. He wondered if there was something he could have done to prevent it. But he knew that not everything could be controlled. One of the workers came over and spoke to him quietly. They told him that she was being taken care of, and that they would continue to watch her closely. The rancher nodded, feeling a small sense of relief. It was not a full relief, but it was something. He sat down for a moment and took a deep breath. His body was tired. His mind was tired. But he knew he had to stay strong. This was not the time to relax. This was the time to be steady and present. She looked over at him again. Her eyes were heavy, but she was still aware. She asked him if he thought she would be okay. The rancher looked at her and spoke honestly, but with hope. He told her that she was in good hands now. He told her that she had done the hardest part already by getting here. She nodded slowly. She said she trusted that. Bess, she said she trusted him and the people helping her. Hearing that made the rancher feel a deep sense of responsibility and respect. Trust is not given lightly, and he did not take it for granted.
Outside, the day continued.
The sun moved higher. People went about their business. But inside, time felt different. Every second mattered. Every small change in her condition mattered. The rancher thought about her strength. Even in pain and fear, she had not given up. She had stayed alert. She had kept talking. She had trusted him. That kind of strength was not loud or dramatic. It was quiet and steady, and it deserved respect. He also thought about how important neighbors are in places like this. Out on the ranch, people depend on each other. There are no quick shortcuts to help. People become each other's support. This day had shown him that in a very real way.
The workers continued to move around her, checking, watching, and helping.
The rancher stayed nearby, ready if anyone needed information or help. He did not want to leave. Not yet. He told himself that no matter what happened next, he would be there for her. That promise felt important. It was not just about this moment. It was about being the kind of person who does not turn away when things get hard. As she rested, he stood quietly, watching her breathe. Each slow breath felt like a small victory. He held on to that. He believed that as long as she was breathing, as long as she was still fighting, there was hope. The hardest part of the journey was nearly over, but the true test of recovery was still ahead. For now, they had reached a place of help. They had reached a place where she was no longer alone in the fight. The rancher stayed by her side, steady and patient, ready for whatever came next. Time passed slowly in the quiet room. The sounds around were soft and steady. The rancher sat nearby, watching his neighbor rest. Every small movement she made caught his attention. Bask. He listened to her breathing, counting each rise and fall of her chest in his mind. Each breath was a reminder that she was still fighting, still holding on. The workers continued to check on her. They spoke in calm voices and moved with care. The rancher did not understand every detail of what they were doing, but he trusted that they knew their work. He watched their faces closely, looking for signs of good news or bad news. Their expressions stayed serious but focused, which gave him some comfort. After some time, one of the workers came over and spoke to him quietly. They told him that she was stable and that the worst danger had passed. Those words felt heavy and light at the same time. Heavy because he realized how close they had come to something very serious. Light because there was now real hope. He closed his eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. The tight feeling in his chest slowly eased. He did not realize how much stress he had been holding inside until that moment. Knowing she was stable felt like a great weight had been lifted from his shoulders. When he looked back at her, she was awake. Her eyes were tired, but clearer than before. She looked at him and gave a small, thankful smile. It was not a strong smile, but it was full of meaning. It told him she was still there, still herself. He walked closer to her and spoke softly. He told her that she had been very brave. He told her that she had handled something very difficult with strength and courage. She listened quietly. Her eyes filled slightly, not with fear, but with emotion. She told him that she remembered parts of the drive and parts of being brought inside. Some moments were unclear, but she remembered his voice. She said hearing him talk had helped her stay awake and calm. Hearing that made the rancher feel deeply moved. He realized that simple words and presence could make a big difference in hard times. They sat quietly for a while. Sometimes silence is stronger than words. In that silence there was understanding, respect, and a shared experience that neither of them would ever forget. Later, the workers came again and explained that she would need time to rest and recover. They said she would have to be careful for a while and follow instructions closely. The rancher listened carefully, wanting to understand everything. He wanted to be sure she had the best chance to fully recover. She nodded as she listened. Even though she was tired, she was paying attention.
She had always been a person who took responsibility for herself. This situation did not change that.
She wanted to heal properly and return to her life when she was ready. The rancher told her that he would help in any way he could. He said he could check on her, help with things she could not do for a while, and make sure she was not alone. His offer was simple and honest. It came from respect, not from pity. She thanked him again. This time her voice was stronger. She told him that neighbors like him were rare and valuable. She said that in moments like this, people truly learn who they can count on. Her words stayed with him. He did not think of himself as special, but he understood what she meant. As the day went on, the room felt calmer. The fear that had filled the morning was slowly replaced by hope. The rancher could feel the change. Beriah, the air itself seemed lighter. He thought back to the quiet morning on the ranch. He remembered the sun rising, the birds, and the feeling that it would be a normal day. It amazed him how quickly everything had changed.
Life did not ask permission to become difficult.
It simply happened. But he also thought about how people respond when difficulty comes. He saw courage in her. He saw responsibility in himself. He saw kindness in the workers. All of it reminded him that even in hard moments, there is strength in people. When it was time for him to leave for a short while, he did not want to go, but he knew she was safe for now. Pace. He told her he would return soon to check on her. He wanted her to know that she was not facing recovery alone. She told him to go and rest a little. She said he had done enough for one day. He smiled and told her he would come back later. There was a feeling of peace between them, even after such a difficult experience. As he stepped outside, the sunlight felt warm on his face. The world looked the same as before, but he felt different inside. But he felt more aware of how fragile life could be. He felt more grateful for simple things, like a normal morning, a friendly conversation, and the chance to help someone in need. He drove back toward the ranch, slowly, no longer in a rush. The road felt quieter now. His mind replayed the events of the day, not with fear, but with reflection. She thought about how close they had come to a much worse outcome. He thought about how important quick action and calm thinking had been. Back at the ranch, everything looked peaceful again. The fences stood quietly. The animals moved slowly in the fields. The tall grass waved in the wind. It looked just like it had that morning. But for the rancher, it would never feel exactly the same. He would always remember that hidden danger could exist even on the most beautiful and calm days. He would always remember how fast things could change. And he would always remember the strength of his neighbor and the trust they shared in a moment of real danger. In the days that followed, he kept his promise. He checked on her breath. He helped where he could. Slowly, she grew stronger. Each small improvement felt like a victory for both of them. Their bond grew deeper. They were no longer just neighbors who worked near each other. They were people who had faced a serious moment together and had come through it with trust and respect. The story of that day became a quiet reminder in their lives. Not a story of fear, but a story of survival, courage, and the importance of being there for one another. What began as a simple morning on a ranch ended as a powerful lesson about life. It showed that even in the hardest moments, people can find strength, hope, and connection. And for both the rancher and his neighbor, that lesson would stay with them forever.